Hey YouTubers, it's Dr. John Paul here, and I have a guest. Go ahead and tell them who you are.
Hello guys, I'm Miss Jordan Daniels. Instagram, Joho Daniels. Twitter, Jordan H. Daniels. I'm 22 years old, and I just graduated from university, so I'm an educated bitch now, yes. I got my major in journalism and public relations. I'm currently trying to write myself as a writer. I have written for Chubster, an online publication, for plus size men's fashion, so I really want to work in plus size men's fashion, as well as do queer, like, social commentary, especially for queer people of color and fat queer people of color.
Yes, so cool. So everyone, this is, if you have not had a chance to check out the Chubster article that came out on me last week, this is the person who actually wrote it. And so I'm so thankful that you're here with me this week, and for us to just kind of kiki and talk a little bit more about our favorite queens, specifically our favorite black queens from the Rupaul's Drag Race franchise. So kind of talking to you a little bit more, Jordan, what is it about the show that you love when we're thinking about it, when we're talking about black femme folks who are a part of the drag community? What is it that ultimately makes you say, like, yes, like that's a look, or that, like, that's it?
Oh, I think at its core, I think especially in black culture, for myself, I am mixed Hungarian and black, and so I grew up a lot around black culture, especially math and black culture, and you're never allowed this space to be like, be feminine, have like a feminine energy about you. So I think that at its core is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Do it for, like, one, for an audience to be like, yes, queen, slay, bitch, to get all that shit done, and then to see like someone who's black and be a feminine in that sense, and just like slay the game is like absolutely amazing. I think people who have done that to me, like our Shea Coulee, I just think, I mean, especially like a fashion, like I think she's so high fashion. I think her direction is so beautiful and so like well tailored. Like to me, like when I see her, I'm like, oh my god,
yeah. And I was thinking the same thing, and so like when I was talking to you about kind of doing this topic for this week about who our favorite black queens were, I know, kind of just going down the list, one of the ones that came up for me that I said I absolutely love and I absolutely kind of adore in relation to just them being their authentic self is Bob the drag queen. And I know ultimately everyone's gonna say yes, they won, so you're probably already a little bit biased, but I think for me this is kind of the same thing. When you think about Shea and when you think about Bob, the one thing that I really loved about Bob throughout the entire season was that Bob really just kind of sat in both their blackness and their queer identities and said, I'm going to show up authentically myself. And so I know for me that was the one thing that I really enjoyed about that season, was seeing a black queen who really just kind of knows themselves, knows their community, knows comedy, kind of just knows how to connect with folks who may ultimately feel as if they're being erased in the community.
I think there's a power in like refusing to be tokenized as well. And refusing to be being a caricature. Because I think Michelle had said Bob does like ratchet drag, and Bob was like, I don't do ratchet drag, like I just drag on myself. I think that's missing as well, because I think Bob, I think myself, like we can't relate to Bob because Bob isn't afraid to get down, and like, but people are going to be like, that's hood and that's ratchet. And it's like, and I think that's not what that is. So I appreciate Bob doing that. For myself, I also love Peppermint a lot. I think Peppermint, I think what's amazing about her is that she truly has been like legendary within New York way before Drag Race. She's been working since 2005, I believe, and I think in doing that, being black and trans as well, I think it just puts her in a position that people don't necessarily see that, and they don't see that representation in that scope for her.
And I think that's the one thing I had a chance to actually meet Peppermint at DragCon this year, I know, and I gagged because ultimately Peppermint, she's it. Like when you walk up to her, you can see that she ultimately oozes the confidence that I think, you know, and I think we're hitting a really interesting conversation here about how black drag queens, specifically the ones who do well in the race, how people take them in, and how folks maybe make subtle comments that ultimately are very anti-black without really knowing. So this idea that they are someone might be ratchet drag, or someone may say, oh, they're not as polished as other queens. I think when I look at Peppermint, there are a lot of folks who kind of tried to pick her apart in her season 2, but I think she definitely did a very good job of basically saying, regardless of what you say about me, regardless of what you think about me, I'm still high fashion queen, and and ultimately made top 3, like that's super huge for me. So thinking a little bit more, I brought up the idea too, you talk a little bit about this idea of ratchet drag, and I know that I don't want to associate the two together, but I know for me, somebody who I think has stood really in themselves and has done very well with making sure that people are like, this is just who I am, is Jasmine Masters. What are your thoughts about her?
I'm not the biggest Jasmine Masters fan.
Girl, the shade of it all.
I'm not. I think, well, no, here's the thing. Okay, so I remember before, I think she's absolutely amazing and sweet. I think it's more, I think for her, she focuses a lot on body, and I feel like for me, I think like as someone who's performed drag before, it's more than just about body. I think that perpetuates a different notion that like to be a drag queen, you have to give like sort of like the look and body, and and that's not the case at all. You see tons of queens who are fat and overweight and have different types of bodies. So being well rounded in that sense, I think to me, my theory, I think her shtick is just body and performance.
Right. Okay. And I think you hit a really good point there. I think for me, the one thing that I will say that I actually like love and actually appreciate about her is this idea that she's just raw. Like as much as people may give her crap for that, I just love that she is definitely herself and she's really not going, I don't think she censors herself. I think that, you know, respectability politics is something she doesn't play into. And I think if there were more, specifically more Black people who didn't really play into the respectability politics around needing to come off as, you know, making people comfortable, right? Jasmine Masters she's not in the business to make people comfortable. And I think that that's the one thing I love about her. Regardless of her look, regardless of how she portrays, I really love the fact that she just doesn't really give a shit.
Oh no, I'm gonna take it back. Because that's totally true. She operates without that entirely. And that's immense power. I think myself, like, that's me coming from a place of like trying to like police and like censor, and that's totally right. So I agree with you. 100%.
I mean, and again, it could be, I would say in these moments we can agree to disagree on different queens. I mean, we don't always have to say that they are great queens, but I think that there is for me, the reason why having this conversation around Black queens are so important is because ultimately they are the ones who are usually at the forefront of all of the shit that we have to deal with that other queens don't, right? Or other queer people as a whole don't. And so I think personally being able to like honor this idea that, you know, regardless of the way that Jasmine Masters looks, she still approaches the game with this idea of I'm my authentic self, and either you like it and you buy into it or you don't. I think that there's a lot of power in that. But someone who is a more bigger queen that I think we probably will both agree that we love is Latrice Royale. Yes, right?
I think I was saying Latrice Royale. Yeah. I think for myself, being fat and Black and queer is such a taboo in any type of community, whether it's a queer community, whether it's a Black community, whether it's in living. I think that's such a taboo. I think to me, like, her song Wait would always be iconic to me, because to see someone that's fat and like completely own that and not give a fuck for a second. Can I say fuck?
You can. You can.
Sure.
This week we can.
I said like 6 times, like, oh my god.
No, it's fine. I'm not gonna edit it out. No, it's not. No, you're good.
But yeah, literally like just not give a fuck. And I mean, Latrice was on in what year?
Latrice, I think was season 4. She was the season with, I think that was the year that Sharon won.
So that was like 2000 and like what?
It's probably 2011,
okay,
2012.
So for like at that point to have that mindset, I think when people are just getting into that right now, 6 years later, it's to me it's like she's a leader in that convention.
Yeah, and I think that that's the one thing I will always say. Like I've bumped into her in different spaces, and I think the one thing that I've always loved about her is that she ultimately is always warm, right? It's this notion that she sees you and as much as you see her. And I think that that's the one thing I love about Black queens, specifically the queens who have not only even just been on Drag Race, and we'll get into one who's more of a local queen that I wanted to shout out that I absolutely love. And I think this notion that they see you and you see them, there's something to be said about that, because I think oftentimes when you watch the drag world, when you're watching Drag Race or when you're watching, they ultimately, a lot of folks will always clamor around the really skinny white queen who is, oh, she's the best. And it's like, no, she's actually really not that talented. She's just attractive, and she's just pretty, right? And she's white. And most of the time, that's usually what the conversation comes down to. And so I love queens like Latrice Royale, who ultimately says, yes, I know I could lose a little bit more weight. Yes, I know that probably being big in your eyes is not what is acceptable, but I'm still going to give this my all. And again, to know that she made it, I think she actually was top 4. To know that she made it as far as she did in the competition said a lot for me about what I needed to be in terms of my own work and the way that I view myself. So I know that we are kind of winding down this conversation, but ultimately there are a few other names we wanted to drop, kind of honorable mention people that we absolutely love. Who is maybe an honorable mention queen that you absolutely adore?
One of my favorite queens that I should know personally, local in San Diego, would be her name is Landa Plenty. And she's also Black and Cuban as well.
Yes.
And I've met her on several occasions, and she's absolutely amazing and so sweet. In my community college, I organized her first ever drag show.
Yeah.
And so I asked her if she wanted to perform, and she has done for the past 3 years without being paid for it, because she had wanted to give back, and that, like, I could say nothing but good things about her. She does everything, and like she performs and she looks amazing. Like, yes.
Ultimately, and I will say the same thing. I actually met Landa when I was out for, I think it was probably maybe back in 2014 or 2015, and ultimately the same thing. Just super warm, very inviting. The entire time we were at the location we were at, just very, very talkative, and wasn't too good, right? Wasn't too good. And I think that that's the thing that I love about certain queens, specifically Black queens, is that oftentimes they tend to be a lot more warmer than other queens, and a lot more humble. And I think that that's the thing that I absolutely adore and I love about Landa, is that she just is very, 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 very humble, and I'm so grateful to know her. I will kind of say the same thing. Another person who I pray and I hope makes it on Drag Race this year is going to be Mayhem Miller. Yes. What are your thoughts on Mayhem?
I have not met her before, but I have seen her. I saw her, especially when I had went to the Marco fashion show, and she was doing the runway for that. And I heard so much about her, and I'm like, I want to meet her so badly to know her. So yeah, and I've seen her perform once. So I'm just like,
she's and that's the thing. So I've known Mayhem since maybe I would say probably 2005, 2006. We would go to VIP, and I got to know her through there. We would just see each other, and she would ultimately do a lot of stuff at one of my last employers. And to be able to see not only the transformation, but just the growth that is there with her, from the way that she carries herself to her fashion, to the storylines that she does when she's on stage. I have always thought that Mayhem Miller was a star, and I've always literally gone up for her. And I truly believe that, you know, regardless, like I said, with Drag Race or not, I think that she's going to be a huge star, and is always going to be somebody that we should watch.
Wasn't she on Lip Sync Battle? So Nene Leakes did Supermodel.
And
I swear it was her. If it wasn't her, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So I got them confused, but I swear it was her. But if it was, then I'm like, yeah.
More than likely probably was her.
She definitely is on some star show.
Because she's done some stuff for BuzzFeed too. And so that's the other cool thing about it, is that as much as she has not, you know, been on Drag Race, she still has a name. And I think that that's the thing that I always want to lift up. I want to lift up both local queens. I want to lift up queens who are not, you know, obviously we could sit here and we could cake for days about how amazing Rupaul is, and is an extremely, extremely important, I would say, person in our community. But I definitely want to give credit where credit is due, and there are a lot of queens that don't get their shine, and I feel like Mayhem is one of them. So I've always thought that, like I said, I always have believed in my heart that Mayhem was a star, and I'm just so grateful to not only know them on a personal level, but also to know them and be able to say that I watched them become the person that they are. Yes, right? Just amazing. So I guess that is going to wrap up our conversation for this week. I don't know, is there anything else you want to add to the conversation, George?
Oh my gosh, no, just one, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I met John 2 years ago, and I had just always looked up to him from the get-go. I think he's always been just like a pioneer and a visionary. Someone like truly stop. No, truly like who is like 100% like unapologetically who they are. I think for myself, coming from where I come from, and moving from I grew up up north in the Bay Area, and then I moved to San Diego, and like moving from a place that was like so white and military focused, and like not like I have a voice, and not feeling like I have space. John like immediately made a space and made me feel comfortable, and I think that's absolutely amazing. So it's like for me to have someone that I see as a mentor, especially invite me on this, like it's like full circle moment for me to just feel like I'm doing things, and this person is like leading the way.
Yes, so, and that's literally thank you, because I think a lot of what I do, from these videos to speaking to the writing, I'm ultimately, that has been my mission, is to amplify and really glorify the work that other Black queer femme men are doing. And so, at the end of the day, regardless, I think as a whole, for the entire community, my goal has always been to create that space. And so just to have you in this space, and for me to be able to sit and talk with you about something that I am very, very excited about, it's an honor. So thank you so much for being on my show this week, right? I don't know if it's a show, what do we call this, whatever. But thanks for being on. Yes, thank you so much for being on my channel. I should say that, because it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you want more information about me and where I'm going to be, check out my website at www.DoctorJonPaul.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter by using the handle at DoctorJonPaul. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, we'll catch you later. Bye.